Alright, we are officially back from Sinister Creature Con. Charlie did his first interview. Yeah. Justin got abducted by Kane Hodder. Overall, though, it was a great event. The panel room was standing room only for like 85% of the time. Sunday's panels that we didn't really do. The show of John, Ashley, and I recapping day one is already up on our channel. Our shock of Charlie being in love with Kane Hodder, bulk of that show.
I still hate Jason X though.
Yeah, sure you do, Charlie. So we didn't talk a whole lot about day two, but those three panels, Felissa Rose, Doug Bradley, and John Cassier. The Cassier and Doug Bradley reached standing room only. So overall, it was a good weekend. We're reconfiguring the layout of the panel room and moving some stuff around to get more people in there. Have to turn the temperature on the AC down another 10 degrees.
Jeez, man. Yeah.
That was a case of overkill. I know they wanted to make sure it wasn't a repeat of last year, but man, it was freezing.
Well, it's so funny. As soon as we get in there, we're like, it's freezing in here. And then it's like, but once it's standing room only, it's like, it's so freaking hot in this. Yeah. No, it was hot. It got hot in that room quick. Like with all those people. Like if you're anywhere where like the people were at, like standing, oh yeah, I know, it got hot.
So you getting abducted by Kane Hodder, did you ever think in your wildest imagination that was going to happen? He latched onto you quick, too.
No, I had just gone out to really help him with the banner, and then kind of...
Just got sucked up in
You don't tell that guy no. It's not a good move. But no, that was a pretty awesome day. I really enjoyed it.
Don't let him fool you. He got away for a bit and was like, I'm going to go back. And
I did.
Can you?
Yeah. When we were setting up the panel room, he's texting me, is it okay if I hang out with Kane Hodder? I'm like, this guy honestly thinks I'm going to text him back, no, get over here. Like,
I felt bad. How do you
they're short on volunteers.
Yeah, they were short.
They're definitely short on volunteers. Which is too bad because it's a cool event to be a part of.
It is.
I mean, they take care of you as a volunteer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Well, we're back to figuring out our virtual scare park. Currently, we have Charlie's favorite film. These are the haunted houses. Charlie's favorite film, Jason Takes Manhattan. A Tales from the Crypt, La Llorona, 2019, Terrifier, and Hellraiser. Scare Zones, we have The Last Drive-In and Pet Cemetery 2019. Rides, we have La Llorona, a Ghostbusters, which we'll talk about that in a minute. And what is this other one? Oh, the Tales from the Crypt, the coffin ride that goes with the haunted house. So we don't have a stage show for our one stage show, and that is crucial because tonight we watched Ashley's first pick of the season, Blood-Sucking Freaks, or otherwise known as, what was it, Charlie? Like Torture the Virgins or something like that?
Yeah.
Sardu's.
Sardu's. I forgot. Something about screaming virgins, though. So.
And this movie. So, I'm going to lay out essentially what the plot of this is, just so you know what we're talking about if you're listening to this.
And you still won't know.
Sardu, master of the screaming virgins.
There you go. Master.
But by all means, does the synopsis or the logline to this film apply to what you're actually going to see when you watch this film? So Sardu is a sadomasochistic theater owner who wants to be renowned as a legit theater producer, and a New York Times critic is at one show in which they torture and massacre a couple of chicks. The critic says this is cheap. Sardu then decides that he's going to make a legit Broadway ballet, off-Broadway ballet, and the critic first says he will never come back to the theater, so they abduct him, and they're going to force him to watch and review the ballet. he kidnaps a star, presumably ballet artist, and brainwashes her to perform for him. There's a whole kind of police investigation involved. Can't really
A paid police investigation.
Yeah, like,
$10,000.
and that's pretty much the plot line. Is the quarterback for the Jets or the Giants is trying to get his girlfriend, the ballet artist, back, and Sardu's trying to produce a play for this critic.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what the movie actually is right off the get-go, I'm talking 15 seconds in, full frontal nudity.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, full frontal 70s nudity, like,
Bush.
bush is as thick as the ones in my front yard. And
No baldies in this, huh?
Yeah.
fucking sleepaway
No.
camp. It's, yeah, like,
Yeah.
see, sleepaway camp is offensive because I felt dirty after watching that. This movie would only be offensive to, like, the hardcore right-wing, like, Christian fanatics.
Oh, you think that would be the only people?
Well, I mean, like, I never felt shitty about watching this film. Where, when I watched Sleepaway Camp, I had an impression that someone attached to this movie has done some pretty bad things. Like, Hollywood bad things.
Oh,
Like,
I see what you're saying, yeah. Yeah, it did have that kind of undercurrent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, this film is not this. Is this a Troma film?
No,
No.
I don't think so. This is just
I
an
think this
indie.
predates Troma.
Yeah.
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 Because this feels like a Troma film. So,
This is definitely the definition of a grindhouse film. This is
Oh,
a
yeah.
42nd Street movie that's going to play, you know, the Skid Row theaters basically in San Francisco.
The description of the movie says, a sadist kidnaps young women and tortures and kills them on stage, but his audiences think it's fake.
That was like the first 15 minutes.
is that
Yeah.
it?
That's all that the description is for the movie.
Yeah, that's literally the first 3.5 minutes.
It is a Troma Entertainment production.
It is?
Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
So
That's a
I
shock.
stand corrected.
they torture people. When I say they torture people, it's really just a black midget. What's his name?
Sardu. Oh, Ralphus.
Ralphus.
Ralphus,
Yeah.
yes.
Ralphus is Sardu's pet or right hand man, and he is just poking and prodding and cutting shit off.
It's your Andrew.
I don't think Andrew has that dedication.
Does he call you master?
He has. So Sardu's got, like, we were discussing in this, he's got like 3 tiers of enslaved women. He's got like his performing women who are wearing that like very 1970s lingerie piece where like the boob is outlined by the bra.
Right.
Those are like his foot soldiers. And then he's got Ralphus and an occasional chick that helps him out. And then he's got like the cage of like feral wolf women who have just been they're so far gone, they're cannibalistic, and
He's
you
got
never
his-
really figure out what he's keeping them there for, other than eating people
Yeah,
when
unless
he
they're-
throws them into the
right.
cage.
Because they're
Exactly.
the ones that refuse to submit to him, and so
Oh,
he
so
keeps
they're
them.
so
So
broken
they-
that
That they would refuse. So he's just got them locked up, and he basically uses them as, I guess, a guarding way, because that's where he was hiding
And
his
apparently
money.
they're always totally naked
Oh yeah.
and
Oh, yeah.
hopping around.
yeah, their camera placement in this film, like, I would love to have seen the storyboard art of this.
I don't think there was a
So-
storyboard.
So, like,
I think this was decided in the scene, like, oh no, let's
What
just shoot
kind of-
right here.
yeah, what kind of a shot do we need for the cage? right up there for John.
Crotch.
Yep.
Right, it just,
Well, shouldn't we show them like their teeth and go?
Nope.
Like, no,
Nope.
we've done that 100 times already.
it's fine. They'll get it. They'll hear the
They'll get it.
So they actually wrote a sequel but never filmed it, called Sardu Strikes Again.
Sardu
He's
Strikes Again.
back.
We should make that movie. Which, by the way, Sardu is the metrosexual uncle you've always had, but you never knew he was part of your family, and then one day he just kind of like shows up for some big kind of family event. He's like the metrosexual version of the uncle from 13 Ghosts.
Jeez.
Cyrus.
Yeah.
So here's an interesting fact.
Double S's.
Troma had the film cut to gain an R rating, then shipped the unrated print to theaters, telling them it was the R-rated version. Eventually, it was discovered when a woman complained the film upset her child. Eventually, the MPAA sued Troma for the improper use of the R logo. The film was effectively banned, not rated by the MPAA at all in the U.S., following protests by women against pornography.
All right.
The seal of approval.
All of that is 100% believable. I will,
Yes.
like,
You know why this film, I'm not as critical of this film as I might have been, is because it's exactly what, you're getting exactly what blood-sucking freaks implies. A super low-budget movie, quality of the acting's not great, plenty of breasts and boobs and everything else. And bush. And that's what it is. It's a grindhouse movie. It's, plot isn't that important. You're just in for the shock and the titillation and literally the titillation.
yeah, can we talk about the girl who's strapped up to the battery cables?
That gets her nipples charred.
Yeah, there's like saying there's 5,000 volts going through her until she...
I thought it was 500 volts.
500
volts.
Yeah.
Oh, 500 volts.
Yeah.
Right.
And every time they turn it on, Ralphus starts humping the table.
Yeah.
He's like a dog.
He's quite the little perv.
I mean,
Yeah.
But look
We
at
kinda know
the
he'd hump
lesson that
anything.
look at the lesson he's learning from his master. His
Right.
master is teaching him controlled, pervism. He's being a provert, not a pervert, because he's at that level of being a professional pervert now.
He's definitely the scene stealer in the movie.
oh yeah,
He
Ralph.
steals all the
Ralphus.
scenes.
Oh, yeah.
Ralphus, of course.
My favorite scene's when he dances, when they throw the doctor into the
The
dungeon of cannibal women, naked cannibal women.
Who was in charge of the blood in this one? Because
It
every
was
time
bright
you see
red
blood,
changed
it's
consistent.
like red paint.
You mean
hits
paint?
the wall.
Yeah.
And
Right.
it changed consistencies too.
Bright
Did you
red.
notice that?
Right.
But that is the reddest blood
Oh, yeah.
I've ever seen.
Yeah.
There was no chocolate syrup used at all.
No,
No.
it could have benefited from a little darkness.
Yeah, a little darkness
Yeah.
on there.
What did 12-year-old Justin think when he first watched this movie?
Titties!
Yeah, pretty much that. Just that it was kind of like Charlie said. It wasn't really a serious horror movie. It was kind of camp. It was something that we made fun of.
Yeah.
That was shocking. That was different. I think, renting it back in the day on VHS, it was something, like I said, really different. And we weren't supposed to be watching it, so that made it all more
Yeah.
more exciting to watch it. So,
It was like finding an issue of Playboy.
yeah.
Sneaking off to watch or to look at.
Your excitement level for this film, no pun intended, was
My excitement
very
level?
low. You were locked into this film like I have not seen you in
It
a
took
long
me
time.
back, as Ashley was pointing out. It took me back to that time, like Justin was talking about, when you would go to the store and you would rent VHS tapes. And it seemed like you had so many choices of movies that you had no idea what they were about, but they were in the horror section. Or they had these titles like Blood-Sucking Freaks. So you picked it out, you took the chance because it was something that you thought maybe I'd never seen before. It's going to be, kind of this unique experience.
That was before you could just go on YouTube, watch a trailer or
yes,
anything.
there was none of that.
Internet to just pull up and find out info. You just went by what they had on the front of the case.
And no reviews.
Yeah.
So you couldn't see what somebody else thought of this, if it was good, if it was bad.
That's why the VHS boxes now, that's like an art
Yeah.
form. I mean,
for sure.
even
That was
Joe
the
Bob
trailer.
was talking a little bit about that with the Chud box, The boxes were what sold the movie, so the movie could be a piece of shit. But it had a cool box. You were going to pick it up and you were going to try it.
That was me
It's
renting
still-
every Godzilla movie when we went in the horror section. It was like,
I don't know.
Godzilla.
I mean, Blockbuster used to do a thing back when they were open. Like, if you rented movies during the middle of the week or even sometimes on the weekend, if you rented, top movies that were just coming out, new releases, and then you could get movies from this section for 99 cents, like, to add on. And it's like, if you were going to have a movie night or a sleepover with your friends, you would pick one or two new releases, and then you would go pick something that you didn't know anything about because they were trying to increase the rentals sales on those, and you would pick something up of the same sort. So, again, back to box art, VHS, even before when they started switching over to DVD, it was kind of the same concept too. They were pushing sales for things that you wouldn't have normally picked up, and you would have been like, oh, well, I can get 2 movies for 99 cents with the new release because of the special. So
The thing I liked about that was it was like an event to go to the store to rent your movie, because it was like, we're watching a movie tonight, we're getting pop. It's almost like going to the movies.
Yeah.
You're getting the movie to watch that night, but it's like you had to go leave the house to go get it and everything.
There was one available behind the
Oh yeah, that was you get so mad when they're out,
or you have your hopes set and then you're upset, and then you spend 45 minutes trying to figure out what you're gonna watch, and you walk the back wall 25 times back and forth, just skimming all the alphabetical movies in category about what you were gonna get.
Yeah, there was times
Checking the
where
return bin to see if somebody brought it back.
Asking the manager, hey,
you drop and you're like, what was that? What came back?
that was my brother would stand at the counter and wait for movies to drop while I was walking the line, and then we would switch.
Teamwork.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
No, yeah, there were times where going to Blockbuster and being just pissed and walking out with nothing and just being
Oh man.
I remember driving from
nothing. I always
Blockbuster
pick
to
something.
Hollywood Video because what I wanted at Blockbuster wasn't there, so we would go to Hollywood Video. Or when we lived in Salida, we had a little tiny hole in the wall, the one on the corner by the donut shop, which eventually went out. But we used to go in there all the time, and they would always have all kinds of stuff that other movie places wouldn't have, and so we'd end up watching.
Stuff.
And there were more of those little independent video stores then.
Yeah.
But I know the one you're talking about very well because we used to rent there too.
Yeah, I
But
remember. Go ahead.
no, it was kind of a great experience. My girls still talk about it. They
It's
go,
nostalgia. I miss it.
remember
Yeah.
we used to on
Totally
the weekend
miss
we
it.
would go rent the movies, we'd go get a pizza.
And you'd
You
go
know, it was
home.
kind of a
Family.
It was
It was an
either a
event.
family
Yeah.
thing or it was a friends thing. And the other thing that, I was talking to my parents about this, my parents were so happy then because they knew where their kids were and what their kids were doing. Not necessarily what they were watching, but they knew, okay, the kids are all in the living room having a movie night and there's 15 kids in my living room. There's pizza everywhere, soft drinks everywhere, but my kids are here and they're watching a movie and this was the thing to do. You know what I mean?
You had to
It's-
watch it because you don't want no damn late fees.
You didn't want the late fees, and you did. You suffered and stayed up all night and watched the damn movie so that they could go back the
better
next
rewind
day.
that.
Be kind, rewind.
Oh my god,
Be
the rewind
kind,
sheets.
rewind.
It was embarrassing to get lectured about rewinding the movie when you brought it back.
Oh my god.
They always checked too.
And then the
Yeah.
rewind fees. Remember,
Yes,
they
the
started
rewind
implementing
fees.
rewind
Started
fees.
drilling
To charge you.
It was like $1.50 for them to rewind your movie.
Yeah, my mom used to yell you better make sure that movie's rewound. We're not paying this fucking.
It would be, we're not leaving this house until that movie's rewound, and if I have to pay late fees, then we're not doing this again for another 2 months. And you're just crushing your whole world. That's like taking your cell phone away nowadays.
That's
true.
a good point.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
You know,
I'll never forget the Hollywood Video here in Modesto. I don't know if you used to go to it at all in the past.
When they used to be Skechers, or that is Skechers.
Yeah. But before, like, they actually had, like, cool, like, props set up for, like, the
When it
certain
was
section.
Video Park.
Is that what it was?
It was Video Park, and it's where Barnes and Noble was.
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember somewhere, but I'll never forget the horror section because they had a coffin in the middle of the room with a green light coming out of it. I'll never forget that. That was like the coolest thing. I loved going in there, and that's where
That was like the first
In Manteca.
big video store.
I used to
It
go
wasn't
to-
like a little mom and pop thing.
Yeah.
You walked in, it was this huge, retail store with different sections that were massive, and you were just like, wow. They had classics, they've got westerns, and they divided them up by theme. And
Yep,
it was
that was
so
the coolest
awesome.
thing.
But a lot of films were discovered, like you were talking about. You
Yeah.
couldn't just look them up on your cell phone like we all do now. If you didn't follow horror, like through magazines like Fangoria and stuff like that, you really didn't know what the movie was about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why they tried to sell it so much with the box art. They were selling the movie.
Well, the box art for this, or the poster for this, now the thumbnail for this, is a cool looking poster.
Yeah, and it's very famous.
Yeah.
I mean, you see that.
Well, and that could be a big portion of the name change too. Is back then, Sardu's Master of the Virgins is probably like what, but then Blood Sucking Freaks is probably like, what is this?
Marketing technique.
Yeah.
See, when I
So-
first heard it, the first thing I think is vampires. When I first hear it.
Oh,
but
sure.
Yeah, that's what I
Sure.
would totally think.
Different kind of vampire.
Yeah.
Very different.
Very different.
So, Sardu kidnaps. By the way, the way that they're kidnapping these people
Blow darts.
is,
Ralphus and the blow darts, man.
Ralphus has
He's
a
hiding in lockers and everything.
straight African tribal blow dart gun, and he's just rolling around Manhattan with it, and he's taking people out with this blow dart gun like it's no big deal. How they get the critic? They get naked black chick to wear a trench coat, and they tape, like, abundantly tape. Like, you see the piece of tape holding up the 19-inch dildo on her belly button. And she flashes the critic, and the critic's kind of
Huge
like...
distraction effort.
Yeah. And the critic's like, what the hell? And then Ralphus kind of like steps out from around the corner and just gets him with the blow dart.
Isn't that in a museum? Or an art
It's in an
gallery?
art gallery.
It's in an art gallery, which is a public place.
Like,
Like the Metropolitan.
yeah, they're just like, how do they get him out?
I
Does
think
she care? Ralphus isn't carrying that guy. That guy is 250 pounds. Ralphus is not going to put him on his shoulders.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna use that technique in my haunt. I'm gonna have somebody flash with a dildo taped to their belly
Oh
button.
my gosh.
Everyone's gonna look.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, for the longest, I can remember back in like 08 or 09, Halloween Horror Nights had a
Had the
scare
flasher.
actor, and it was the flasher.
And
he
it was
would
intestines.
flash, and his intestines were hanging below, in between his legs, like it was his dong.
Oh my gosh.
He'd open up his jacket, go, and swing it around back and forth. And Martin was with us, and so he grabbed the tip of it and put it in his mouth.
Oh my god.
All kinds of believable stories being shared.
Oh my god.
But yeah, so they get the critic. The critic isn't gonna do anything. He's like eating people, and then he decides after he's eaten like 3 people that he's not gonna eat anymore. So they shove a tube in his mouth, and Ralphus grinds the meat like a sausage press and force feeds him. And then they go out and they bag them Natasha, the ballet dancer, and they screw her by torturing these other women, and then eventually they cut the feet off what was her biggest rival, and she finally succumbs to Sardu, and Sardu and Ralphus dance for a little while. Like, she will dance. She will dance.
Ralphus and Sardu are definitely buddy. They even do the arm around the arm, beer chug.
Oh, yeah.
I really
Having
thought you were
popcorn.
about to say they were really...
They have a little sadomasochistic
Yeah.
something going on there. They're closer than just a henchman and a master.
And then, so this whole time, Joe Namath is trying to figure out where his girlfriend's at, and he enlists like this dude who claims he's Italian, but the way that he's playing this role
He's definitely a Jewish
policeman.
There's no doubt about that.
Like, he is so Jewish. Every decision he makes is centered around how much money he's going to get, and he like tells
and that's
the
not
Joe
a
Namath
nod. I don't mean that as a racist
he's really
comment
he's really like making direct eye contact with the Joe Namath character, and he's just like, "Oh, we can get this money, huh? And so this cop, like, character twists like 6 times in a time span of like 10 minutes. Like, he's gonna sell out the girl to get this money from Sardu. Then he has the money from Sardu, but he's gonna help Joe Namath get his girlfriend back. But then they're not gonna go back. But then, in what honestly looks like it's been like a month, and then they all got back together. They break down this door, which has like a Castle von Frankenstein pillar in front of it to keep it locked. And
2x-lock.
Joe Namath kicks the door, and it literally just splinters into a million pieces.
a lot of effort.
They go in. John, nice call that he has bought himself a detective's trench coat so they can match at this point. So it's been a little bit of a time because he's got himself fitted for that jacket. They roll in like Schwarzenegger and DeVito from Twins. And they find their way through, and they get Natasha, but she's not going willingly. But the cop goes back like he knows where the money is stashed or something. So he's gonna go get more money, more of Sardu's money.
And he gets shin kicked by Ralphus.
Ralphus shin kicks him. By the way, the critic.
Does he shin kick him? Oh yeah, he does. You're right.
Yeah, 'cause he goes down and then all the women maul him. That's where we get the bad shot. As they're eating him, and then it's literally like, should we film them eating him? No, just film the women's crotches.
Yeah.
It'll save on the blood. Like,
we're running out of bright red paint. That costs us too much.
But back up a little bit to Natasha's performance when they're in the audience, because they have the critic strapped to one of the pillars on the stage, and he is killed with Natasha just scissor kicking the fuck out of his face repeatedly, and she's literally like twirling backwards to like 15 feet so she can get a head of steam, and then she just scissor kicks this dude again and again.
And she does all this topless.
Topless, yes,
Right.
absolutely. She never goes full frontal.
No.
But she does get topless. So that dude is dead. The cops find Sardu making out with his corpse.
That's the impression I got.
Yeah. Was weird.
But it's funny because at that point, the sergeant knows that the show, everything about the show knows that it's real, but still sits there and lets her kill the critic up on stage.
Because he's going to go try to get the money afterwards.
Oh, yeah. He's definitely about that money. He literally doesn't care. Even the quarterback was like, well, shouldn't we do something? No, don't worry about it.
The quarterback has to pay this guy $10,000 to get him into this investigation to begin with. Like his first line, I think, in the movie is, "Man, look at your place."
Oh yeah.
Like he's
you got a big place.
Now,
you got money. You're a quarterback.
Let's talk about that place. Because that place, I know that things are expensive in New York, but if he's the quarterback for the professional football team in New York,
it's not going to be in like a flat.
He's not going to have these plastic plants that are sticking around all over and these like lawn chairs for furniture.
Well, I mean, this film is very thrown together.
Yeah.
Like, this was literally, I'm pretty sure Sardu's was in a garage and then a basement in some house somewhere. and the quarterback's apartment was probably the director of the film's apartment.
Could have been.
It's a good call.
No, I mean, so
Good work.
they're using what they got to work with.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also in the 70s, so I'm sure
It's tacky anyway.
75 to 85% of the budget for this thing, just copious amount of drugs and alcohol.
Yeah.
Like, Sardu is just toasted every scene he is in. His eyes are barely open in this film. Like, so they find Sardu trying to bang the dead body, and they strap him to this crucifix thing that they've used a couple times before, and they beat him up a little bit, and that's when the cop goes to get the money. He gets eaten. Joe Namath gets Natasha, and they're walking towards the entrance, and she breaks down and hits the floor, and she's like, my master, like, I gotta get back to the master. He's like, what are you talking about? We gotta go. And she finds herself a Acme-sized, like from Looney Tunes,
It's a
sledgehammer.
railroad hammer.
Yeah.
And
It just happens to be right there.
Very
Yeah.
conveniently placed.
Yeah. And she smashes him like Thor smashes a dark elf in Thor 2 with the hammer.
Yeah, she whacks him a good one.
Thus destroying any hope of the Jets or Giants going to the Super Bowl that season. And then she does get fully naked, but you only see her from the back, and she runs back into the master's room. And just when you think this film couldn't get any crazier, what proceeds then is like 3.5 to 4 minutes of
Girls
the
naked dancing.
wolf girls, the ravenous girls, just kind of bouncing up and down and partying on what I'm assuming is just
With interesting camera
a vast
angles.
amount of cocaine. Like they're just
Yeah.
flying. And the camera is tits, vag, tits, vag, face, tits, vag, face.
Head.
You see, then you see
Justin,
the
I'll
three
be honest,
heads.
how many times did you rewind that and watch that scene over again?
Can I plead the fifth? I don't know. That was like 30 years ago. I don't remember.
Ah, boy, is that evasive.
Probably enough to wear out the reverse on the VCR. Had to go buy one of those things that you pop the cassettes in to rewind.
Clean out the VCR.
Yeah, this movie could totally be so that's what this looks like, would not be like that's how you do it.
No,
No.
because there's very little
Actual
sex.
Right,
It's
yeah.
just more anatomy.
Yeah.
And then the sandwich at the end.
Well, you
Yeah,
see,
don't forget the
well, you
sandwich.
see you see the heads of Sardu, which is confusing as to how they would do
The
Sardu's
sequel.
revenge, or he and
Ralphus.
Ralphus, and then what was the other? There was 3 heads. The
Yeah,
cop.
but it was the girl.
The
It was
girl.
one of his main like girls that would help him.
Oh, the black chick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The flasher.
Yeah. Their heads are laying on a buffet table, and one of the feral women takes a bite out of a big ass hoagie, which has got a big ass penis in it,
Cock meat sandwich.
and that's where it ends. The end title frame literally comes out of the head of the penis.
On the head of the penis.
Yeah. Like directly on there.
So Jimmy, tell us what you really think about this movie.
I mean, this movie,
It's not the worst thing you've ever seen.
yeah, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. It's also barely a movie. I mean, you can't hate like naked women for an hour and a half. So I'll give it 3 stars out of 5. John, what do you give?
Out of 5?
Out of
Wow.
Wow.
Jim.
Or
That's
out
impressive.
Okay, so out of 10, I would
Like a 7.
5. No, calm down.
3 out of 5, and that's 6.5, I guess, right?
60%.
6.7.
You keep giving it an extra half. 3 and 3 is 6. The more I think about it, I'll say 5.5. I
I'll
said,
take a 5.5 from Jimmy.
Out of 10, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not bad. Actually, not bad.
what do you give this movie?
No. Probably 6. Just because the time era, Grindhouse, it's very, that's how those movies were back then. So, I mean, it's very, for its time frame and everything that it was done, I mean, you can appreciate it for what it is. And it's entertaining. I mean,
the doctor drills a hole in that chick's head. We even talked about that.
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, it's
drinks
oatmeal. I read the thing. It's oatmeal.
Oh.
He drills a hole in a woman's head and starts drinking her brains and then blows
Through a
bubbles
straw.
in her skull like a kid in a milk carton.
Right.
That alone makes
Yeah.
the movie a 3. And then the other shit just brought it up to a 4.
I think, like, one thing is, like, especially, like, with the parts to where he's, like, doing the things to the other girls and making Natasha watch, those are all things that I would have liked to have seen almost take place on the stage with, like, some more people watching, just so that it would have gotten across as, like, they're doing multiple shows
Yeah.
type of thing. Like, that would have been, I think, better. And then, yeah, just because it's like there were some cool, like the guillotine part's like crazy with the fact that he makes the girl hold the rope with her mouth as they spank her, so it's basically up to her if she's gonna let go of the rope. So that kill is interesting to me. Yeah.
6?
Yeah. 6.
What do you give it?
8.5. Because it's something different. It's not something that you're seeing in every kind of a horror movie or anything in that genre, and you really have to almost pay attention to catch the storyline. And yeah, there are unnecessary shots in there, and there's some unnecessary stuff in there, but when you look at it as a whole, it brings it full circle, and it's just an odd classic.
It's
I
an
like
oddity.
it. It's an oddity.
Absolutely right. That's what it is.
It's an oddity for sure. So, I mean, better. They didn't make 72 freaking remakes of the same thing. I mean, come on, how many times can Jason kill people? 10 times, apparently.
Well, the reason why there's not 72 of these is like 2 years, 3 years down the line, they probably wouldn't have been allowed to.
Well, that means that it was a damn good oddity of a movie because they couldn't remake what they already did. It crossed boundaries that you can't cross nowadays in movies, and
That is for sure.
and that's a unique quality for a movie.
It was designed to shock.
Yeah.
And it was shocking, but it was done in a way that
Can't wait
was
to hear
laughable or
this motherfucker's story. He's
enjoyable.
gonna give it a 10 out of 10.
I like
Danielle,
Justin's thing that he could see where Despicable Me pretty much got its idea from this whole movie.
Ralph's costume and Sardu could have been Gru.
I mean, they are. Yes.
Yeah.
That whole scene where Sardu's got the chick up on the rack, they stole that for Game of Thrones. That's all Ramsay. Ramsay is Sardu.
Just a metrosexual version of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Danielle, what do you give it?
Okay. So I would have gave it probably like a 3, but the fact that I was actually turning my face and my head on parts gave it up to probably a 6, and I kind of got a Hot Rocky Horror Picture Show feel, so that made it a 7. So yeah,
She's rating it a 7.
yeah, I am.
Justin.
So I'm like 7.5.
Justin, high five.
And think about it. Were you not entertained?
Oh, I was
It's like Gladiator.
So
Are you not entertained?
not entertained.
Yeah.
And it is. It's one of those things. It's an oddity. It's strange. It's weird. You almost can't turn away from watching it, even if you want to.
Makes you think.
And it is something different. It doesn't take itself too serious, because I think if this movie had come straight out the gate and there wasn't some measure of sort of like
The cheesiness.
the camp, there's a little camp there, a little grindhouse camp.
There is.
If it's not, and you're looking at this from, if it's portrayed super realistically, you're watching somebody torture people to death, and that, I think, is a really hard watch if there's not a little bit of levity that comes along with it, in that this isn't serious, this is camp. Look at some bad acting, some bad sets, some bad special effects. but it's entertaining. At the end of the day, I saw it 30-something years ago, and I never forgot it. When you guys said you were watching it, I was like, yeah, and it was just a one-off. Like I'd never heard of it. Picked it up off the shelf, took it home, and it became like it's like one of those cult.
Changed your life.
Yeah,
It was Justin would have all the boys over after baseball, and they would be movie night, and he'd be like, "Hey, you guys haven't seen this movie? We gotta watch this movie." Our parents will think we're watching some horror movie, but there's boobies everywhere. Don't
Justin
worry.
was the most popular kid on the block.
when I rented the VCR. Well, and I had no idea it was a Troma film, and hearing
I didn't know
how far they pushed the rating system and releasing it's like that took
Yeah,
some
it is.
balls. So
Yeah.
I mean, I'm gonna go an 8 because it bumps it up because they were out there gutsy.
That is Floyd Kaufman. That is, having talked to him, I have zero doubt that he was like, "Oh, we'll just tell him. It's okay."
It's art.
All right, Charlie, you're up.
Well, as the oldest person
Just
here,
give it a 10, Charlie. Just say it.
and taking it for all the reasons we've talked about. It's an oddity, it's a shocker. Justin hit the nail on the head when he talked about the humor element of it that's kind of an undercurrent through the whole movie. Like, oh yeah, you can't take this seriously, it's just here to shock. And I have heard about blood-sucking freaks forever and never seen it, and I know why it's kind of back there in the back of everybody's mind is because it is this shocker and it's so strange and odd, and because that's really what horror is supposed to do, I'm going to give it an 8.
Well, think about how many like memorable scenes. It was like the doctor one we kind of like forgot for a second, but the minute you bring it up, it's like, oh yeah.
Well, and he drills her head, but before he does that, he pulls all her teeth.
Yeah.
Which
No,
I
yeah.
mean, you're tapping into some real fears there. Like
Yeah.
being powerless, and I gotta go to the dentist tomorrow. I'm glad I missed that scene.
Well, and it's like, what we talked about, like the sex aspect, which you never see, but it's definitely, pushed, but you don't see anything.
But it's all voyeuristic.
Yeah.
There's never any real sex going on that's erotic or anything like that. It's just all boob snatches and butts.
So,
Jimmy, you want to revisit your score?
Let's compare it to Jason X.
there is no comparison.
The reason I don't like Jason X is because they had this tremendous big budget. They had the chance to write a decent story, and they turned out just this crap.
What would you have thought if Jason had come into this? It'd have been a hell of a lot better movie, right?
Yeah, actually, it would have been. Yeah. The lower budget would have benefited that
Oh yeah. Like,
completely. So anyway, I just had to get that in there.
Thanks, Charlie. So in the Scream Park sense of things, I mean, it's a show. It's based on a show. It would be a show.
Yeah. That's what I was going for.
I like.
You're okay to say no. It's not going to hurt my feelings. I'm not going to throw a fit like Andrew.
What did Andrew throw a fit when we said no to?
Event
Oh,
Horizon.
Event Horizon. God, have you seen that movie lately?
No.
That movie,
What about this compared to Event Horizon?
Oh, I would much rather watch this. Event Horizon is fucking boring.
So you want to change your score?
No.
I think he gave Event Horizon a 0.
Yeah, Event
Yeah.
Horizon's like a 0.5. It's just Sam Neill, like, delivering the worst, driest dialogue I've ever seen. Which, by the way, if we could just take a time out for a minute. If you think that bringing back Sam Neill and Laura Dern is going to save the Jurassic World franchise, fuck you, Universal. Stop making those goddamn movies. Velociraptors don't wink at the camera. And I'm going to go ahead and say it. Sam Neill, not that good of an actor. He peaked with Jurassic Park.
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason why they brought him back for 3, because they needed some money.
Yeah,
3 is better than 3 is. I like 3 more than 2. We're getting on a side tangent here, but 3 was more enjoyable than 2. I will give you that. 2 was just shitty.
2 is just so long. Like, there's so much unnecessariness with 2.
From now on, it's Jurassic Park and then straight to Jurassic World. And I had a lot of hope for Fallen Kingdom. But you're going to make me watch a brontosaurus, like the most cuddly of all the dinosaurs, sit there on that ledge and fucking die for like 5 minutes. And then you're going to give me a shitty haunted house movie with a dinosaur in it.
That's what it was.
That was so bad.
But now we're going to go to war, like some kind of biochemical warfare dinosaur thing where they're taking back civilization. But we've got Dr. Grant when he's like 70 years old to come help us save the day.
Excuse me?
We got Dr. Grant. It's not Indiana Jones. It's not Harrison Ford.
No, I'm speaking for all the near 70-year-olds.
They should have just left them out because basically that's Pratt and Bryce Dallas, like, and it's like they're basically like, what are they gonna tip their hats to them? Like, yeah, you guys are us now.
They're pulling the Force Awakens card.
Mm.
That's what they're doing. They're bringing in Han Solo for the only thing they're not doing is gender swapping it.
Well, could it be worse than 2?
Yeah, it can get worse. It can always get worse.
I didn't like, no secret I didn't like that. The last one.
Well,
which is so bad because you came off such a high with the last one.
Yeah, I was looking forward to it. I thought, really looking forward to it. That was one movie that really disappointed me.
You could have just had to be on the island.
Yes.
Been on the island
The
the whole
whole
time.
It would have been good.
Right. It would
Have
have been
that-
good.
have
Because
that.
actually, it doesn't start badly. But then it quickly goes downhill.
It's as soon as they leave the island.
As soon as
It's
they leave the
awful.
island.
Point being, Sam Neill is going to be in the next one, and he's in Event Horizon, and Event Horizon sucks.
Jeez.
We got there eventually. So, yeah, I'm going to
We
throw...
never would have thought that the one space haunted house we ended up going with was Leprechaun in Space.
Which, have you watched that movie lately?
I have not. I haven't seen that movie.
Like,
Oh.
the Millennium Falcon, I'm actually Facebook friends with the director of that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But on the spaceship, like, it looks like, you know, like those cake pans that you can get that, like, bake a cake? The Millennium Falcon, not even trying to hide it. Like, it is abundantly the Millennium Falcon.
Jimmy thought I was lying when
It
I was
is
like, dude, that room
patterned on the walls of this spaceship. And he kills a guy with a lightsaber.
Oh, gee.
And apparently, this dude and Lucas are buds or were buds during the filming. And so I wrote this guy on Facebook, and a friend requested him, and I had a conversation with him. And he really wanted me to read his book, so I checked out his book. And that guy is fucking weird. But he's a nice guy.
Is that Brian Trenchard
Yes.
Smith?
Yeah. Thanks for throwing his name out there, Charlie.
That's right.
I mean, is there another director for Leprechaun in Space?
But yeah, that I would say yes to Rome side tangent after side tangent here. I would say yes. Let it be this year's show. You have Ralphus pull some chicks from the crowd and they can torture them, or there can be a dance number where what's her name kicks off some dude's head, or whatever. I don't have a better idea, so yes, they can be.
Tyler has a job now. We'll just curl his hair.
No to everything else.
Yeah, no, definitely not an attraction. Definitely not a haunted house or scare zone.
I don't know. There's a lot of different rooms though. It's better than half of the black hallways that we get at Universal.
Yeah, but
I mean, if you think about it,
Different level.
John, just say no.
No.
Just please.
it's a no for sure. But
definitely the show, like Jimmy's talking about, doing like the plants and having Ralphus come out and snag a girl and take her up there, and depending on the rating of the Scream Park, if it's
no rating given.
then so then naked girls up on stage, I guess. But if that wasn't an option, like I was saying, if you almost did like a burlesque style show, then you could get away with it. But,
I could see that.
There's a lot of range you could play with to get this to work on stage.
yeah,
But I mean, it would just be kind of an interesting show to watch and see like how they would pull off like the tricks of doing this practical effects on stage and stuff.
well, in the one scene, she just has her finger in the board moving it.
Yeah, see,
You
get a
know.
close up of that.
But it would hinge on getting the right Sardu and the right Ralphus.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
You could pretty much use anybody else for the rest of it, but you would have to have some weird dudes to play those.
Yeah, and the show's got to be just as campy as the movie.
Yes.
I mean, it's got to just be.
Even more so.
Like.
Yeah. You don't want people like.
You would have to pour on a little
Camp-
extra
camp-
camp just to kind of catch those.
Camp the shit out of it. Like, make the acting god awful.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
even have people seem like they forget their lines up on stage.
Yeah.
Like, give me some
So
of
do
that.
A bit of
to
a
where-
cheesy feel.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
Well, think of the dumb blonde. That you could use to play the ballerina.
Oh, exactly.
You could really play that part.
Yeah, so I mean, it would be a great concept to have, and then you basically reimagine the show.
Kind of
for-
almost want to
for
leave
stage.
it a little bit improv, a little bit.
Yeah.
To kind of flow with the different people, because if you're going to be pulling people up on stage, their responses are going to be, generic, but you're going to want to have some playroom, so you're going to have some improv in there as well, for sure.
Yeah, it could be a funny show.
Show, for sure. You don't even have to ask me.
Yeah, a show. And like I said, when I went and seen the Rocky Horror Picture Show live, and that is, to me, I could see doing the same kind of concept. That would be amazing, actually. I think that would be really cool.
You could do like an interactive.
Yes, interactive, yeah. That would be really cool.
Just throw red paint over everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. anytime they
Yeah.
torture someone.
Yeah.
Even if that was in the
Yeah.
show, like if they go to cut
Yeah.
something and a guy, like a stagehand dressed up in black,
throw
gets a
it.
bucket of red paint, slide that on the wall. I mean,
Perfect.
it would just be
Yeah, there you go.
hilarious.
Perfect.
Like,
That was like when we went and saw Evil Dead the musical.
I heard that's really good too.
Halfway through it, we were in the bathroom and dude's taking a leak and one of the crew hands is in there too, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I haven't even gotten that bloody yet," and the crew hand's like, "You're gonna get fucking bloody." Literally,
Is that the
after-
show? What the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's like one of the opening songs.
Mhm.
But literally the last, the finale of the play, we saw them, and there's 6 guys with just buckets of blood. They come up behind and just fucking rain down on you.
Yeah, they have a silk
And-
section for that show.
Wow.
They sell white T-shirts, I guess,
Oh, jeez.
for the show. So then
keep
you
them.
get smothered in blood, and then you keep the
It's
shirt.
so over the top campy. Like Ash is killing a deadite, and you see a hand come through a curtain with a hose, and as he's fucking doing it, the hands just and just blasting people in the
See,
first 2 rows.
right there, something like that would just be
That'd
hilarious.
be perfect.
So yeah, Justin, yeah,
Yeah, show, no doubt.
Charlie.
Definitely a show. Burlesque it up, like you said. It'd be great.
So
Get some Merkins, put them out there.
So it's a show. Congratulations, Ash.
Great, Ashley. Thanks for bringing it to us.
Yeah.
Next week we'll hopefully have Abby back. She didn't respond this week, and she's probably at work. But next week we will be doing Reanimator for Abby's pick of the year.
I've never seen it.
Oh no shit!
Never
Yeah,
seen
shit.
it.
Never
Never seen
Wow.
So I'm excited for this one.
it. You will like it.
It's another good one. The last tidbit of actual haunt coverage we have this morning. Halloween Hornets Hollywood is doing their casting, and the casting director posted a 60-second Twitter video of tips going into this weekend's audition. What you should do if you're wanting to get hired as a scare actor for Halloween Horror Nights. He did this with the production journal open in front of him, and there was pictures from Ghostbusters in it. Essentially, unintentionally linking that this year there's going to be a Ghostbusters something at Halloween Horror Nights. It won't just be Hollywood. If it is Ghostbusters, they'll do it in both coasts. And if they do both coasts, that usually means it'll be a haunted house. I can't see one doing a production, a show, and then one doing a house, although they have done that before where one has done a house and one has done scare zone. But that could be a huge step in the right direction if they pull it off correctly to get them back on track. Because I know when you guys went, you said the Stranger Thing maze was no good, but Trick or Treat was okay. And when we went, Trick or Treat was garbage and Stranger Things was okay.
Yeah, no. When we went, I don't know what was up, but it just seemed like every beat was off with Stranger Things. It just. I mean, we were getting all the scares, but it just, I don't know if the cast was just off that night. I mean, but everybody in our whole group, nobody enjoyed that maze at all.
And that's exactly what happened to us with Trick or Treat. Because we would go, and we did it twice, and there was one time it was timing. And those mazes, this, like the first room you walk into, you're like, fuck, they're gonna be like 30 seconds ahead of us the whole time. And so one time was like that, and then the second time it was just kind of like, it was just dead.
Yeah. Yeah, see, for us, when we went through Trick or Treat, the cast was like, they were on freaking fire. Like, because they were hitting every mark. And I mean, for our whole group, and we had a group of like, what, 10
people? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
We had a large group, and so for everyone in that large group to go through
there was at
and
least
say
11
that
of us.
it was like one of their favorite ones, I mean, that just tells you that the cast was doing their job that night. Because, I mean, that's what will make and break any of those. I mean, is the cast. I mean, you could have a great setup, great haunt, but the cast ain't doing their job. It ain't going to play out.
I'd say my 3 components to making Ghostbusters the dopest maze they've ever done. 1, you gotta have the hotel hallway and some kind of Slimer component, whether it be a puppet or he's on some kind of like a zip cord or however they decide they're gonna pull that off. But even if it's where he only gets like 10 feet away from you, and then he kind of like just big wheel him back. I don't even care if we see him wheel back on some kind of.
Do you think that they'll do 1 and 2? Or do you think it'll just primarily be 1?
The art gallery, that fruitcake and
it would just give because my only problem is if they just concentrate on 1, I would be concerned that the whole maze is gonna be nothing but puppets of the dogs.
Just make a new one for me.
Yeah, I mean the dogs are gonna be in there. Like it's just they're gonna be in there. It's gonna be like American Werewolf in London style puppetry with those dogs. My big thing that I would say is the first room that you go into.
It's gotta be the library.
Yeah, if it's not their fire station, it needs to be the library with the librarian, which is completely doable.
Yeah, I kind of hate to say it, but I almost hope that they make the maze semi-original, to where it almost be like you go into the fire station, then almost like the reactor breaks down, then like all the ghosts get out or something.
See that.
Or the siren starts blaring.
So it doesn't follow the movie.
So, question, do you...
and just take characters from the movies and incorporate it. Like, maybe go to the hotel and do the hallway still with Slimer.
Do you think that they're doing the Ghostbusters? Do you think that they're doing Ghostbusters because of the talk of the redoing the movie again?
Well, the 3rd movie.
There's hype around it,
yeah. So, do you think that's what's pushing them in that direction right now?
This has been a rumored thing for like the last 4 years that they were going to do Ghostbusters.
I think...
Just not excited about
it. They're running out of shit to do.
Yeah, I think they kind of have like some chips for things that are going to get people there.
Yeah.
And they pick specifically when to cash those in. So I mean, like last year, obviously they had to do trick or treat because of Warner Brothers, because it's getting to that point
But
where
see,
they may never be able to do it. So it's like,
But see, here's my thing.
let's cash
If
in
they're
that shit.
if they're cashing in chips, why would you have put Stranger Things and Trick or Treat together when you're running out of properties?
well, it's two different things. I mean, you got something
Yeah.
new that's getting people's attention. Trick or Treat was like the cult classic, or
Right, but they also did
people
Universal Monsters.
hardcore. Yeah, but that's like old school.
Okay,
So
but
it's
Trick
Poltergeist.
or Treat has like its own
plus
following.
Poltergeist,
was
plus
old.
Poltergeist,
Yeah.
compared from the lineup
Those are
last
so
year.
many different time eras.
It doesn't matter, but what you're saying is they're running out of properties, but they're throwing all these really good properties out all at once, and I wouldn't do that. I would hold, if they only could do Trick or Treat, and that was like their big one that they should have thrown all their ducks into that one.
I think they did that because, like he's saying,
Yeah.
Warner Brothers had their event last year, and I think Warner Brothers hit them hard with the Pennywise maze and the Conjuring.
Oh,
Yeah.
easily.
And so they
Yeah.
needed to counteract with a 1-2 punch of their own.
Yeah, because that's two properties that I'm sure.
But here's
they
the
would
deal:
love to do,
if you
and
want
they
to
ain't gonna
counteract
get
with a 1-2 punch, then don't you want to put the best of what you can out there? I've walked through more black hallways last year than I think I have in all the years that I've been, and
yeah.
that's horrible.
I
Like,
think that's a budgetary thing.
Yeah.
I would much rather see them do 5
Okay,
instead of 8 mazes.
but
than
here's the
down
thing:
hallway.
you're telling me budgetary wise that you can't throw some paint on the wall to go through. I've seen them reuse shit that they have no use in any of those mazes to reuse, and it still had a purpose better than a fucking black wall. Like, that's the most annoying thing to me.
I think the issue is they're expecting to make the mazes so long, and they just don't have the material for some of them to even come up with something like that. I mean, think about the one scene in Poltergeist where it's the dude peeling his face off. That should have just been literally that one room, but no,
Yeah,
they
it was
milked
like
the
4.
shit out of that. Like, you
Yeah.
walk by him peeling his face off, then you walk
Okay,
a long hallway where you like hear him ripping his face off,
And
just
he
to
pops out again.
have him
Yeah.
eventually come up from that high angle that they love using
That's
in a
why
black
so
hallway.
explain to me why
why
the
they do
clown
this
that
one.
was absolutely terrifying in Poltergeist that was coming out of the bed slowly and repetitively in that black transition hallway, they didn't do something where it like even screamed across the screen like ha ha ha, and it like
Yeah,
ran by
something.
you, or
Well, did
because
you-
the clown moved in the movie and
Yeah.
it did its own different things because it was possessed as well. That is that takes nothing for them to put a projector up there and have it run across.
And
Like,
then
that's
you're talking a quality thing there, because if you watch the Poltergeist one from Orlando last year, that maze
yeah.
was amazing.
Oh yeah,
And there was
everything
things that
was
they
more
did in that
amazing
maze
than
that they
one.
could have easily done in Hollywood. Like, they had the part where you're walking down a hallway, but they had like, it was almost like the arms, like it was like the fabric almost like on the clown where it was like the
Yeah,
stripes.
the stripe.
Oh, yeah.
And they like had a bunch of tubes with that hanging that you
Yeah.
like walk through.
Yeah,
That
that
would-
would have been amazing.
pool noodles. Paint some fucking pool noodles. Like, come on.
But that's
But-
I mean
but
that
here's the
just
thing.
shows
If
you
it's-
Hollywood's drying up on creative.
But if it's a budgetary problem, open Harry Potter Land and open that up so that you can feed more bodies into the park. Keep Simpsons open. Keep
Yeah.
Despicable Me open for the people who bring their kids that don't have a place to put their kids. Because their kids will go do the kid shit while you're doing all the other stuff. Like,
Yeah.
open these things up to bring in more people, which is going to bring in more revenue so that you can do
So
better these
angry
things.
now. I get started now.
I'll be curious to see if they keep Nintendo Land open once it's open during Halloween.
Well, it's a whole separate thing, right?
No,
No,
it's
it's on the
right
back
next to
one.
Transformers.
Well,
That's that soundstage that Stranger Things was at last year. Gone.
that's where Nintendo Land's going?
Yeah, it's
Oh.
going
They
to
would
that
be
whole
stupid to
big
not
section.
leave that open.
Well, they should have Potter World open.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Potter
We've
World's
got-
been there long enough now that they should open it.
Yeah, just keep it
The
open.
3 years that it's been open, on the nights we've gone, it's been open.
It's
2
fun.
out
It's
of the
open
3.
till 5 or 6, and
Yeah.
then they
yeah,
shut
that's
it.
and then they shut it down.
No, we went 2 out of the 3 years we've gone. It's just been open. Like we
During
rode
horror
Harry.
nights?
Yeah, we rode Harry. There's no one in there scaring or anything, but we rode
Yeah,
the ride
yeah.
at like
But I mean,
11 o'clock at night.
really?
Yeah.
Every time we go,
Every
it's
time
closed.
it's closed. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they would do that. Why they would only open it on certain nights.
Unless it's
Weird.
just beyond packed those nights and they just do it
Could
to
be a capacity thing.
because
yeah.
they haven't announced that it's ever open.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just.
I mean, because 2 years ago when we went, 2 years ago when Lisa was with us, our friend Lisa, we went and got in line for Exorcist, and she went into Harry Potter, and she went and rode the ride, and then went to Ollivander's, and then came back. By the time we got through the first maze and out, Lisa joined us. Like, but she went to Potterland, and then I was like, well, I want to go check it out if it's open, and we went back up there, and they were closed already by then. Like, and consistently they've been closed. Even when we were coming in last year, they were closing it up. They were closing the gates when we came in already. Like,
yeah, last year was the first year since it's been open that they had the gate actually shut, and they were saying
Well, you guys usually go
later.
Yeah, you guys usually go like around the last weekend, which is what we finally did. But I wonder if like they open it for like on Halloween when it's like beyond slam. They completely sold out of every single type of ticket they could sell for Halloween Horror Nights, and it's like, let's open that shit up.
But see, here's the thing: we're going when we go. It's like the last week of September, and it's still packed. Like, it's still pretty busy. Yeah. It's still, I mean, we've seen mazes get up to 4 or 5 hour waits, and people are only getting to do one maze in a night without having the front of the line or anything like that, and not knowing how to work the system. So with that, I mean, you would essentially want to open everything
to spread the crowd out.
To spread the crowd out. Not only that, but you have maybe some areas of the park, and I don't want to use the word safe zone because that didn't work for us, like, but you want to have some areas of the park where people can go and do things that maybe aren't necessarily Halloween oriented. For like Donna, your wife, she could go to Harry Potter Land and hang out there while you were in the park.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, you guys could start out together in the park, and then you could go do your thing, and she would be perfectly happy to go be in Harry Potter Land. You know what I mean? She would take a friend and go be there. So think about it that way.
The whole section between like Potter World and Springfield, all that's usually pretty a safe area. Like they never have scare zones there.
Right, but
I want Treehouse of fucking Horrors, scare zone, and goddamn Simpsons.
Cool.
But like they could open Harry Potter Land, and they could have revenue coming in there. You know what I mean? That would be like when you go to Mickey's Trick or Treat at Disneyland. Everything's open.
Oh, yeah.
Everything except for, well, the only thing that's usually not open is Toontown, but that's because Toontown closes at a certain time and it's done because of the fireworks show, and at that point it costs too much to reopen that whole land and get people back there.
Well, it's because they do the fireworks for the Halloween things.
Right. So in Toontown, you're not making the revenue in that you're going to make in the rest of the park anyway. So in that sense, you're not losing anything. But Harry Potter, with as popular as it is and still growing, especially with Wizards Unite just now coming out, they're idiots for not opening that.
Well, in Japan, they have a Dementor scare zone.
I know, we've been talking about this forever.
So J.K. Rowling is getting over herself a little bit to allow it to be in Japan.
Yeah, because I know that was her big thing. Is she's like, Harry Potter's not Halloween, so it's not.
Which, fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, there's Christmas trees and all.
It's witches and wizards. Like.
Shut your mouth, because you're going to make royalties off of it anyways. You're already making royalties off of all the crap that they have in their parks.
But
you
it's
might as well
tarnishing the brand.
Nothing's going to tarnish the brand.
No, the last two movies have tarnished the brand.
I mean, apparently she's writing more again, so, you know, to add on to it all, and it's like...
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts 2 was a rough watch.
I still haven't made it through that whole movie.
That was...
I should tell you.
I haven't even
there's
like
one dope scene, and it's in the first 10 minutes of the movie, where Johnny Depp like breaks out, and he's like in this fucking lightning storm, and these horses are like these skeletal horses, and he's on top, and he's just whipping away at these horses, and he's coming down on the London skyline.
See, I've seen that 5 times, but not the rest of the movie.
And you're like, this movie's gonna fucking rule, and the rest of the movie is just bullshit.
Wake up 2 hours later, and you're like, it's over?
Yeah, like
that's a snoozer.
The rest of the movie is the dude, Eddie Tremaine, or whatever his name is, or Eddie Redmayne, just walking around and being like, I can't fight him. I swore an allegiance. Like, speak up, asshole. This movie sucks right now. Like, you're not helping it.
Come on, Newt.
Come on. Like, get the gold stealing platypus out and make it these adorable things like you did in the other one. Like,
my Niffler did some tricks for you.
Even that thing was like, no, I already saved one movie. But the last thing, Ghostbusters, if they can pull off, even if it's like the torso from the bib and the head and a hand, if they can do some kind of Stay Puft puppetry to where you walk through a room and you like they could do the room like you see a skyline and you just like see his head poke up, and then you could have Zool like on the other part of the room. It'd have to be like a massive room, but I have no doubt that they could do it. That would be ridiculously cool. You don't have to show him get fried. You don't have to show him do any of that, but just you do what Aykroyd go like. It's the first thing that popped into my mind, and then just have this huge Stay Puft.
It'll probably
puppet.
be a screen. Just
You
because
just
you
need to
want it
see
to be a
Stay
puppet. Here's your 3D glasses before you go in the maze.
You shoot in a little marshmallow smell.
Yeah,
That's all
shoot
you
some
Oh my
marshmallows.
god, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. What'd be
Those
dope is they
marshmallows.
gave you like a s'more on your way out.
There you go. Oh, I'd pay for that.
They won.
They want. Be like the donuts in Springfield.
Yeah.
Towards the end of the night, they're trying to give them away. Here's $1. We'll take $1 for it. We're throwing it out after this, so $1.
Gosh.
Alright, we went long on this one. Next week, Reanimator, and we will have another Encore history show next week as we dive into Knott's Berry Farm's first decades. Knott's Berry Farm's been around for like 50 years, so we're breaking that up into two parts.
Started in 73.
But thank you for listening. Still to come this week, we have a full set from DJ Rex going on the Nerdigeddon show. So all the songs that he played, it'll be fun, my son. Just plug it into your Bluetooth in your car and pretend like you're on Batu, driving to wherever the hell it is that you would go. I don't know. Star Wars work. But next week, Reanimator. Thanks for listening. Charlie loves Kane Hodder.
We're out.
Good night.